to be scary. Yes. It might be intimidating. Yes. But do it anyways. You might cry. You might yell. You might curse. You might scream. You might feel defeated at times. Yes. The growth might not come as fast as you may want it. Yes. But that doesn't mean that you're failing. As long as you're getting up and you're going after what you want and you're doing the thing anyways. That's all that matters. Hey y'all, it's Megan May and this is Transparency, where we keep it real about our growing pains and all the beautiful moving parts of life that may not be the most glamorous but shape us into who we are today. So if you're ready for some introspection and evolution, go ahead and lock in by hitting that subscribe button. And if what I says resonates with you, you can go ahead and leave a comment and or like so I know we see each other. So today we'll be talking about fear of failure. And fear of failure can show up in your life in different ways. It could be you choosing to be a perfectionist. And I say choosing because I feel like we've heard through life a lot of the times when we go after something or we're expressing our desires that, you know, there's no such thing as perfect. And there really is no such thing as perfect. If you think about it, what some may applaud, others might say it's still not good enough. But yet, even if the standard of perfectionism is set within you and not based on any external factors, you have to understand that there's still no such thing as perfect. You will disappoint yourself sometimes, but as long as you give your best effort, then that's all that there is to it. You don't have to sit here and try to reach this high bar, especially if you're just starting out on something. Expecting not to fail is almost like insane. It's insanity to think that you'll start something and for the very first time and the very few times that you go after something or show effort in something that you'll be perfect. It's insane. But I feel like oftentimes we don't give ourselves enough grace. So we do strive for perfectionism. We do strive for perfect. And it's really just ludicrous. The other thing that keeps us from going after the things that we want and is another showcase of us having fear of failure is comparison. It's so easy for us to compare ourselves these days because we're just continuously shown the lives of everyone else. We're continuously seeing the highlight reels of everyone else's life, and if you are, you know, going after similar aspirations to somebody else, it can be easy to put yourself in a box, to think like, oh, there's no point of going after this thing because look how X, Y, and Z is already so successful in it. But what someone else's success is does not take away from what your own success could be. Because you guys are two different people. You're in two different lanes. And they might have just forged the path to make it easier for you to be able to accomplish the same thing or something similar. But just because somebody else is already doing something that you may like to do does not mean that there's no room for you. Does not mean that if you go after that thing that you'll fail. So that's the second thing we'll touch on today. Comparison. And the third way that we'll discuss how fear of failure shows in our life is, because I think this is most people's favorite thing to do, and that's procrastinate. Procrastination. Oh, so much to say. So much to say, but so much doesn't even have to be said because we know what procrastination is. We know what it feels like. We know what it looks like. And a lot of the times, the other two things that we'll be discussing, perfectionism and comparison, can play into why we're procrastinating. And we might not even recognize that those two things are having such an influence on our decisions to not even get started. It's so crazy. We literally just self-sabotage ourselves all the time. And there's all these external factors that play into the why. But today we're going to discuss those three things: perfectionism, procrastination, and comparison. And we'll discuss how you can alter your mindset about these things so that they don't hold you back anymore. And also how we can embrace failure and understand that it's inevitable. If you're shooting for the stars, if you're going after your dreams, going after your biggest goals and aspirations, you will fail. But it's okay to just dust yourself off and hop back again. If you need a moment to pause, then do that, but never quit, because the only way that you can truly fail is if you just give up. So let's get into it. So I think most of us have heard, if not all of us watching, that you miss every shot that you don't take. And that's true. You missed it because you never took it. So I want us to embody this mindset of missing every shot we don't take when we are in our perfectionism mindsets. Because truthfully, I feel the reason why we show perfectionist tendencies is because we associate our successes with our self-worth. And so unknowingly we do the same with our failures. But you are not your success nor your failures. They are attributes to who you are, but they are not who you are at your core. They are not what defines you. You are more than a A+. You are more than a F. You are more than a high school dropout. You are more than a college grad. So regardless of how high you succeed or how low you fail, you are more than those things. And so in saying that, I'm saying that if you are one of those who choose to just not go after something because it might be too hard or you might not be the best at it, then I need you to reevaluate how successful in life you really want to be. Because like I said in the beginning, it's impossible. It's impossible to have the standards to be good at every single thing that you go after. It's impossible. The whole learning process, I feel like, is not highlighted enough in how it shapes us, because oftentimes we are focused on the destination, and I see why. Like if we think about how we grew up in school, you get applauded for having the A's and the B's. You have honor ceremonies, and if you don't have those A's and B's, then you don't get to be a part of those honor ceremonies. If you fail, you don't graduate. So I see why the destination is given so much emphasis and given so much credit. But it's really about the journey. It's about, what is it that you are learning in this process? Okay, you failed. So what? There's always a takeaway. Maybe you failed because you didn't really apply yourself. Maybe you failed because you weren't following instructions and you were going based off your own judgment, despite having clear and concise instructions for you to follow. Failure comes for many different reasons. Maybe there's always a different approach that we just seem to not give any attention to, and maybe that is the reason for our failure. But I feel like it's unfair to ourselves to attach our self-worth to our failure or our successes, because we are more than that. And once we realize we're more than that, we won't have such a perfectionism mindset, because we'll understand that perfectionism or being perfect is impossible. It's impossible. And so as long as we go after the things that we say that we want in life and that we want to achieve, that we might fail. But if we really want it, we're going to take the lesson, we're going to dust ourselves off, and we're going to bounce back up and go after it again and again and again and again and again. But it begs the question, how bad do you want it? Because if it's something that you're just doing for validation from other people outside of yourself, then you're not going to be able to stand the test of time and fail and get back up and try again. You're not going to be able to have tunnel vision for your end goals, because you are going to be just thinking about what everyone else is saying. But some people, their perfectionism is really because of things that they're having within themselves, their own internal dialogue. Telling yourself that you're not good enough, telling yourself that you're stupid, telling yourself that it's pointless, telling yourself that you are never going to be whatever it is that you're going after. Telling yourself those things, yes, you're going to continue to fail. And yes, you will continue to be discouraged because you're having poor self-dialogue. So what do you tell yourself in these moments where you're thinking it's all or nothing? First off, abandon the mindset of all or nothing. It isn't all or nothing. You can be good at some things and still not be good at others. One. And that doesn't make you a failure just because you're not good at everything. So first, abandon that mindset. And what you'll tell yourself is, I gave it my best shot. But if you honestly didn't, then of course that wouldn't work. So what am I saying? Just do your best. Just do your best. You don't have to be scared of the outcome, whether it be failure or success. Just do your best. Just do your best. And oftentimes what I've realized in my own journey is that when I go after something and I know I gave it my best shot, even if I didn't get the results that I wanted, I'm graceful with myself. And it's easy to be graceful with myself because I have an understanding, so I can give myself my own assurance and say, you know what, that was harder than I thought. You know what, next time I should try this. You know what, maybe I should look into doing this differently. Think of failure as redirection. That maybe, just maybe, what you thought is not what actually is. And so if you just redirect your thoughts or redirect your approach, then maybe you will reach the end result of your desires. But you don't have to be perfect. You just don't have to. Because what does that really even get you? Perfectionism. What does that get you? If you're perfect at everything, then you're learning nothing. Just like they say, if you're the best person in your circle in terms of being the most knowledgeable, the richest, whatever, if you are the best person in your circle, then what does that really mean? Nothing. It really doesn't mean anything. It means that your life is probably very insignificant because you are not putting yourself in those spaces to get uncomfortable and to grow. You're doing what's familiar, you're doing what's comfortable, and that's why everything is going the way that you want. In life, things are not just supposed to just go the way that you want them to go all the time. That's impossible. That's ludicrous. So you just have to block out the noise, whether it be noise that you're having within yourself or noise from everybody else. But honestly, on any journey that you're taking, the opinions of others shouldn't have much weight, period. Even if it's your mom, your best friend, the closest people to you, regardless of who those people may be. The opinions of others cannot carry too much weight to where you alter your own perception of yourself. So regardless of what is causing you to act as a perfectionist, I need you to really understand that there's no such thing as perfect. And once you try something new, you may potentially fail. But does that equate you to a failure? No. You are not a failure because of your failures. If you get back up and you try again, then boom. Maybe that next time might be the time that you succeed. But you can't be scared of things not being perfect and making the reason why you're not going after something because the outcome is not going to be perfect. You can't live your life like that. So let go of that mindset that you have to be perfect and that everything has to go according to plan, because things are going to be, you're going to get thrown loopholes all the time. That's just life. But it's how we navigate those loopholes. It's the lessons that we learn in the process that really shapes us into who we are. And that really equates to the ultimate success. Sometimes there's no need for you to even get back up and dust off and try again that same avenue or that same approach. You know why? Because in the process, you might have learned that that's something that you don't even care to pursue anymore. And that's also fine. And that's also an example of redirection. But all you need to do is really tap in with yourself to understand yourself, understand your desires, and understand what matters. And then you'll know whether it makes sense for you to go after something multiple times, or for you to dust yourself off and say, you know what, that was a nice try, but I'm gonna do something else instead. Either way it goes, just know you don't have to be perfect. And either decision that you make is fine. So now for number 2, comparison. So with comparison, I feel like oftentimes we're just giving too much control to those outside of us, because no one said that because someone else was doing well in the area that you wouldn't be able to do well. No one said that there was not enough room for you. You might have heard that noise within yourself, or you might have heard other people saying like a market that you want to enter is oversaturated, but no one said that you, specifically you, wouldn't make it. And if somebody that you probably shared an idea with does tell you something like that, just cut them off and go about your business, because nobody that's actually supportive, nobody that's actually successful would say something like that to you, because we all know that there's enough room and there's enough money and there's enough success for everyone to get where they desire to be. So if comparison is what's holding you back, then all it takes is to just do it anyways. You think that because somebody else is already, doing really, really well in this space that you can't answer? Okay, cool. Do it anyway and see for yourself. It might take a lot of time, but what we also need to remember is that just because we see that other people are doing well in areas of their lives that we might aspire to reach one day, does not mean that they got to where they are in a night or two. A lot of the times, we are only seeing the tip of the iceberg, and we don't know these people that we're seeing that just be so successful. We don't know their story. We oftentimes, especially now, like I feel like back in the day it was kind of different, because like when we were younger and we seen like these stars, because social media wasn't a thing, and a lot of the things that people were successful for, they did have like autobiographies. They had autobiographies or some type of documentary, probably, showcasing their journey, showcasing their defeats, showcasing what they had to overcome. But all in all, we don't know the people that we're seeing. We don't know them on a personal level to know what is it that they had to overcome, what is their story, what is some of their downfalls, what are some of their failures. We don't know those things. We're just seeing that they're now successful. We don't know how many years it took. We don't know how much money they lost. We don't know any of the things that actually matter, any of the things that would probably discourage us if we did know. But that's why you just do it anyways. Somebody else's story is not your story. Somebody else's end result is not what your end result may be. Perhaps you won't make it in this space, but perhaps you will. Why side on the side of saying that you want it if that's something that you genuinely want? Why focus on what someone else's success is or what someone else has versus pursuing what you want wholeheartedly and trusting that there's enough room for you to succeed in that space, or trusting that you will come out on top? It's not a competition. It's not a competition between you and the next person. It's a competition with yourself every day to get up and go harder. It's a competition with yourself every day to do something that is going to get you one step closer to the end goal that you desire. That has nothing to do with anybody else. So what? They're already successful in that space. That doesn't mean that you can't be groundbreaking in that space just the same. And then someone else that comes up behind you will see you as an aspiration, see you as a motivation, see you as a trailblazer for that same space. And then you'll realize that it was never a problem to have 1 trillion people in one space. It was never a problem for you to pursue something and want to be great at something that somebody else is already great in, because that's just life. There's not one famous superstar that we all just sit here and admire. There's several, because there's something about you that's going to gravitate your own crowd. There's something about you that's going to present what it is that you have to offer different than anybody else has ever done it. So you can't allow comparison to make you think that you are going to fail because you're not smart enough, or you're not popular enough, or you don't have the same resources. It doesn't matter. If you want it bad enough, then it doesn't matter if someone else had an advantage over you. whether they come from money or whether they went to college or whatever you want to use as an excuse. None of that matters. If you want it bad enough, you too can have it. And just because somebody else has it already doesn't mean that you're going to fail in your pursuit to attain it for yourself. So just get up and go after it anyways. That's really all it takes. It's going to be scary. Yes. It might be intimidating. Yes. But do it anyways. You might cry. You might yell. You might curse. You might scream. You might feel defeated at times. Yes. The growth might not come as fast as you may want it. Yes. But that doesn't mean that you're failing. As long as you're getting up and you're going after what you want and you're doing the thing anyways. That's all that matters. And number 3, procrastination. This is my favorite one because when coming back out with transparency, I was procrastinating so much on getting things done that I knew I needed to get done for so long, for years, guys. For years, for months. Like anytime that I would make that first step, and I would probably do, the first 2-3 steps, I would then procrastinate. I would think like, okay, I've gotten started, like that's enough, and give myself, so many pats on the back, but all for nothing, because for the longest while, that was all that I would do, is the first few steps, and then I would just stop. And I stopped because I got in my head, like, what if I'm not well received? What if it's been too long away from the platform and nobody cares about what I have to say? What if I don't know how to articulate my ideas? What if I choose to be vulnerable and somebody takes advantage of it? What if? And that crippled me. It crippled me, and as I would procrastinate, I would also kind of just glorify those first few steps that I've taken. And though so much time was passing by, like I would still credit myself with like, oh, when I come back, I'm already a few steps ahead, so it's nothing. But it is something. It is something. And I feel like what we need to do to stop procrastinating is really to be clear on our own expectations. It doesn't matter how well received you will be for everyone else, because like I said, your own ideas, your approach, everything about you that make you who you are is going to attract the people that should be, in your community, in your circle, whatever it is that you're pursuing. The people that you need behind you, backing you, beside you, whatever, they are going to gravitate to you because of who you are, for who you present yourself as, and for who you actually are. So you can't really be worried about the uncontrollables. All you can do is be yourself. And that's what I had to remind myself when I was battling with all these thoughts and ideas of why I wasn't so confident in coming back to transparency. And that might not apply to you in terms of being crippled by how others will perceive you or anything like that, but you might just have too high expectations in general, or you might have too low expectations. Maybe you think you can procrastinate and you can afford to procrastinate because you can get whatever it is that needs to get done like this. And that might be the case. That genuinely might be the case. But perhaps that means you're not challenging yourself enough to do things that matter more. Similar to how I said the perfectionist thing. Like maybe you're just not doing enough. And that's why you're procrastinating. And your fear of failure in that sense would be you're not doing enough, you're not challenging yourself because you don't want to fail. You want to be good at everything. So you see how things just tie hand in hand. But you can't be scared of failing. You can't allow failure to cripple you from starting something or from taking that next step. Because if that's the case, then you'll just never know. And guys, we can't get this time back. And I was talking to one of my best friends about this the other day. Time, like when I just sit here and think about how, like in my personal life, I've been out of college now for 3 years. My nephew just started college last Monday. And I'm like, golly, I'll never be a college freshman again. I'll never be in high school again. Like, those things, like, when you really sit there and think about those things, it's just like, dang, you have no choice but to move forward. And if you decide that you're not going to move forward, so I guess you do have a choice. You could decide to move forward, or you could decide to stay complacent and be unhappy, because that's actually what's going to happen. If you decide that you're not going to go after things because you don't want to fail, you'll still be unhappy. But why not just go after the things that you really want, with the possibility of failing, but understanding that failure is really just part of the process, and embracing that failure, embracing the lessons that it brings you, embracing the people that it might bring into your life, embracing the opportunities that it might still present to you. Why not take that path, understanding that at least you're making the best use of your time and you're moving forward, versus being scared of failure and sitting in that one place and failing anyways, because your life will be just a joke at that point. You get what I'm saying? Like, if you're not pursuing anything because you're choosing to play it safe, you are failing at life. Because 5-10 years from now, when you look back, you're going to be in that same place, and you're just going to be living this mundane life that has to make you unhappy, because there's no change. There's no change in scenery. There's no change in the person that you are. Your circle probably changes, because people more than likely will leave you behind, because who wants to stay in the same place forever? But if you think about procrastination, that's exactly what you're setting yourself up for failure. Because as time is going by, you're staying in that same place. You're not achieving your goals. You're not even shooting for any type of aspirations. You're just staying in the same place, playing it safe, keeping up with the familiar, and thinking like, oh, it's nothing. I could do it tomorrow. I could do it tomorrow. I could start next week. I could start next month. But this time is passing by, and in the process of you waiting for next week, in the process of you waiting for tomorrow, so much time is being wasted that you'll never get back again. And you're putting yourself behind. Behind who? Behind you. Behind where you could be if you just took that one step. Guys, we don't have to go 0 to 100. It doesn't have to be like that. And I think we are painted this picture that we do have like a limited amount of time to get things right, but you have until your final day on this earth to get it right. But why wait? Like, why not want what you want to come to you sooner than later? Why procrastinate? And I've had these dialogues with myself countless times, and I still procrastinate. It's hard. It's hard to shake yourself up out of a funk. It's hard to get yourself to do something that makes you uncomfortable, even if you know that it's going to make your life easier or it's going to make your life better. It's still hard. But just because it's hard doesn't mean that you have to continue to give yourself all these passes and allow times to go by, because at the end of the day, you're failing. When you make all these resolutions for January and you keep up with it for January, and then it just disappears, and around this time of the year, September, October, November, December, it starts to creep back up into your mind like, damn, I still didn't accomplish the things that I said I was going to accomplish. I still didn't accomplish one thing off of my vision board. Like, when you sit there and really assess how you spent your time, listen, we don't have to have a perfect day every day. Every day doesn't have to be jam-packed with us checking things off of our to-do list. It doesn't have to be that. But when we procrastinate and tell ourselves that we have more time, we can do it at any other time, we are setting ourselves up for failure. I think the best way to approach procrastination is to make it so small for you to take that one step. You know, I've been reading a lot of self-development books, and I feel like what they say oftentimes in these books, or even the podcast that I listen to, is that you have to make your first step the easiest step. So if you're struggling, and I'll use the gym example because I feel like that's the one that's oftentimes used, and that's the one that applies to me the most. So if your goal is to lose weight, the first most easiest step for you to do is to probably identify what kind of exercises do you like. Okay, boom, you like going on walks. All right, how can you incorporate walking more? Boom, do you have the right shoes for where you can go walking and it can be comfortable? Because if it's an unpleasant experience, then you're gonna then cancel that out, or you're then gonna say, I don't feel like going walking. Maybe tomorrow. I'll start again Monday. You see what I'm saying? Like, you just have to identify what it is that you want and then boil it down into the simplest, most specific first step that you can take to get you to that end goal. And applaud yourself, reward yourself for taking those steps. Because if you continue to reward yourself, or you just give yourself that acknowledgement that, hey, you're finally doing the thing, you're finally taking steps in the right direction, you'll boost your own confidence. You'll give yourself the encouragement that you need to continue moving forward in the right direction. And even if you don't make it to your end goal within the prescribed time that you might have set for yourself, at least you can see the progress. At least you can then acknowledge that you're on the right path. At least you'll know if this is something that you want to stick to. But if you could just continue to say tomorrow, if you continue to just put it off to next week, next month, next year, then you'll never know. And what if all this time passes and then you decide to finally start, just to then realize that, hey, I don't really like this. All that time that you wasted thinking that you could just start tomorrow, thinking that you could just start next week, next month, next year, you can't get that time back. So what that probably would do is put you back into another state of procrastination, because now you have to redefine what it is that you want. And then you'll probably be discouraged to start that, because you'll be thinking about how you finally decided to give this thing your all, or finally decided to start taking steps in the right direction with this one thing, just for it to not play out how you want it. But something I've been hearing a lot often, and I don't know who coined the term, but what we need to learn how to do is fail fast. Fail fast. That is the best remedy for procrastination. You think that you don't want to start something because you might not be good at it. You think that you don't want to start something because the market or the space that you want to enter is oversaturated. Whatever excuses you're giving yourself, or whatever stories you're telling yourself that's hindering you from taking those steps towards what could be your next success, just go after it and fail fast. Hey, if you're gonna fail, at least you'll be able to fail sooner than later, so that you can redirect yourself, so that you can pick yourself back up and try again. But you have to fail fast. That is the remedy. That is the remedy. Like, there's no such thing as not failing, but at least you can fail fast. And the faster you fail, the faster you can succeed. And I know that sounds nice, so let's go ahead and fail fast. So to recap, how do we overcome our fear of failure? We do it anyways, because we want to fail fast. We want to fail fast, and we want to be able to be provided with the opportunity to redirect ourselves, or change our approach, or decide that something just no longer serves us, or we don't want to pursue something anymore and we want to pursue something else instead. But we can't do those things if we allow comparison, perfectionism, or procrastination to hold us back. So we stop being scared of what we're unaware of. Guys, think about how crazy that is. We are holding ourselves back because we are scared of an outcome that has never been defined for us. We don't know what's on the other side. We're telling ourselves these things that's holding ourselves back, because we're scared of failing, because we're scared possibly of what others may think or may say. But we don't know what the outcome will be. And I'll say this, if there's something that has been on your heart, been on your mind, been on your soul, your spirit for quite some time, it's time for you to pursue that thing. It's time for you to pursue that thing. There are so many things that I literally be like just flirting with in my head. And some of these things I've given an honest shot before, and some of these things I still, I'm still dragging my feet on. To be honest, I'm still dragging my feet on because I feel like it's not the right time. But there's no such thing as the right time. The best time is the present. And so if that's you, if it's something that's inside of you, that's been inside of you for so long, and you're considering of pursuing this thing, I would like this to be the invitation that you need, the permission that you need, whatever it is that you're waiting on, the sign that you need to go ahead and pursue that thing, regardless of what you think the outcome may be, regardless of what you think you don't have, and that's why you're not going to be successful if you were to pursue that thing right now. I want you to do it anyways. Because what I've learned in just the process of transparency alone, there's so many other things that I still have to go ahead and get started on myself. But in the process of transparency alone, what I've learned is that once you start, so many doors open for you. Not even doors in terms of opportunities, those too, but your mind. You start to see things differently. You start to appreciate things that you once, probably didn't even give too much thought to or too much focus on. Things change. And things oftentimes change for the better. So go ahead and start. Don't allow what you're unaware of to cripple you from going after what it is that you really want. It's insane, guys. It's insane. It's insane. I don't know how many times I'm gonna say it. Insane and ludicrous. The 2 words of the video. If you're scared of failing, then you are being insane and you are performing or behaving very ludicrous. And also allow your fear to be the reassurance that what you're going after, what it is that you want, is something that you actually care about. Because think about it. If you didn't really care, then you probably wouldn't be scared. You know what I'm saying? That's not to say that those who aren't fearful of going after what it is that they want without the fear of failure don't care about what it is that they're pursuing. But I think the reason why we sometimes feel scared is because we just really, really care. We really, really care. And we don't necessarily want to have to face, a point of feeling like, okay, maybe this just isn't for me. But once we get to that point, guys, where we can assess whether this is something that we genuinely want to see through, or it's something that I appreciate the opportunity to try this thing, but I don't necessarily think that it's something I care to continue to pursue. Once we get to that point, it's such a pivotal point. Because then we can really understand what it is that we want. We might be able to understand what is it that we want to redirect our focus on. What is it that we might need to work on within ourselves to be a better person, to be able to attain the things that we actually want. But we're not able to answer these questions until we finally try that thing out, until we finally give ourselves the grace and the room to make the mistakes. But we have to start. We still just have to start. And we have to see failure less as defeat and just embrace it as redirection. Because the only defeat in life is us giving up. And I'll also say before closing that when you actually give something a fair shot and you decide that it's not for you, that's not you giving up. Because you really tried that thing out and it just doesn't resonate with you. It doesn't make you happy. Perhaps it's taking too much out of you and you just don't enjoy the process. And the process, like I said, matters more than the destination. So if you give something a fair shot and you realize that it's just not something you want to continue giving your time, your energy into, that is okay. That is where the redirection comes in. But you're not giving up. You're just choosing something different. You're just choosing a different path, choosing a different approach. And that is okay. But we have to embrace our strengths and our weaknesses. Because ultimately, that's how we get the things that we really want. By knowing what is it that we're good at and what is it that we still need to work on. But to close, I just want to say that I hope by now in this video you have an understanding that mastering anything takes time. And so whether your reason for your personal fear of failure is perfectionism, comparison, procrastination, or even if it's something that hasn't been discussed today in this video, and let me just go ahead and say, if that is the case, then please drop what's holding you back and what your fear of failure is associated with in the comments, so that we can further discuss what is it that needs to be done, even though I'm sure what's been suggested in this video can apply to whatever your, I guess, vice is to deal with your fear of failure. But I just want to close with saying that if you are going after anything, if you are desiring more for yourself and more for your life, then you are going to have to fail, because you just don't know everything. None of us know everything. None of us have enough experience in life to say that we just don't want to fail. And I feel like if you have gone through life this far in your life without failure, then you probably have not challenged yourself enough. Because realistically, in order for us to grow, we have to put ourselves in uncomfortable situations. Or sometimes it's not that we put ourselves in uncomfortable situations, but uncomfortable situations find us. And it's how we navigate those uncomfortable situations, it's how we assess who we are and how we show up, that gets us to really shed those parts of ourselves that's holding us back. And really also put more emphasis and put more nurture into those parts of ourselves that get us through to the other side. But you're not going to be able to grow if you're scared of failing. You're not. Whatever it is that you want out of your life, you're not going to be able to attain those things if you're scared of failure and you're just continuously playing it safe. You're not. But I'll leave you guys with that. I hope that something in this episode resonates with you, and I hope that it has also served as encouragement for you to go after what it is that you truly want without allowing fear to cripple you, and understanding that, okay, so what if you fail? Because failure is always seen as redirection. Not that you can't do anything, not that you're not good enough, not that you're incompetent, or not any of the other negative self-beliefs that you might hold because of failures that you might have had in the past. I want you to know that you are more than capable of achieving the dreams and the goals that you have, and that failure is all a part of the process. So if there's anything else that you want to add to this conversation, please leave it in the comment section of whatever medium you're listening to this episode through. Wow, that almost took me out. But yes, leave it in the comment section of whatever medium you're listening to this episode through. And I'll see you guys next week. Toodles.